What's up, interpreters? I'm Ranger Karen Armagost with the New Orleans Jazz National Historical Park.
What's up, interpreters? I'm Ranger Jade Perdue. Again, I'm here with New Orleans Jazz National Historical Park.
What is up, interpreters? I'm NAI's Executive Director, Paul Caputo.
Hey, what's up, interpreters? I'm Song. I'm your NAI Events and Conferences Dragon Slayer.
Oh.
I don't know. Hey, Karen and Jade, thank you so much for being with us today.
Hey, thanks for having us.
You all are based in New Orleans, is that right?
That is right.
Well, I've got some chit-chatting to do with you after this because I'm going to New Orleans on Friday.
What?
For my bachelorette party.
Woo!
So seriously, bring some cool weather with you as well.
It's not going to be cool down here.
No, it is not.
To be fair, Song just got back from Morocco, so I think Song is prepared for not cool.
Good.
Just not the humidity.
Right, that part.
That part. So, Karen and Jade, I've met you at a couple, I think, NAI conferences, and I am just super curious about the site where you work because I was like, is it a park? Is it a historical monument? Is it what is it? Can you explain?
Well, that is a question that we frequently get. So New Orleans Jazz was created by Congress as a national historical park. And it is really a park that focuses on the cultural aspect, the history, development of jazz in New Orleans and then throughout the country and the world. Physically, we actually share a visitor center with the Jean Lafitte National Historical Park and Preserve in the French Quarter. So we have exhibits that focus on the people and the cultures of South Louisiana. And we have a performance space and a beautiful courtyard. So that's kind of physically, it's this one little space, one exhibit area, courtyard, and performance space. But programmatically, we travel through time and space. Jade, do you want to talk about the music?
Yes. So our programs are here to highlight our community, highlight the origins, the early development, and just the style of New Orleans traditional jazz and styles that are related to jazz. Our programs invite local musicians and subject matter experts to share their experience, their expertise on the culture. You will find that on a Saturday, we have drum circles led by drummers and dancers. You will come in on a Tuesday and even see National Park Service Rangers in uniform playing music. And it's a experiential and just a great environment to experience, again, the culture and the music of New Orleans.
Yeah. So here in the French Quarter, we do a Ranger talk every morning. So that is some aspect of history or culture. And then in the afternoon, we do a jazz concert. But it's not just a concert where people sit and listen. People are also invited to ask questions, interact with the musicians. Depending on the musicians, maybe sing along, clap along, get up and dance, because it is New Orleans. So that's what we do. We have a lot of live music so that people can experience jazz, not just read about it.
As individuals and interpreters at a site that is focused on music, do you all have a background in music yourself?
Yeah.
Well, Jade does.
Yes. So that's how I came to know about this park. Was in high school. I was participating in one of the many music education programs in the city. So I grew up doing marching band, in choir, church, you name it. I was involved in it. And I went on to undergrad at Xavier University of Louisiana, studied music, then went on to grad school, studied some more music, but with a heavy focus in jazz studies. And all those steps and experiences led me to being a part of the New Orleans Jazz Park team.
Yeah, and Jade is a vocalist and a piano player. And part of your job when you applied was, did you have to submit a music sample?
Yeah. So when I first came on under this team, I was just part guide, and so for the second round and into this now new position, I had to submit material, submit an audition, a tape with playing piano and singing over a traditional jazz song. So I didn't sing anything like, I don't know, I want to dance with somebody. I had to sing like, When You're Smiling, or songs that are under the New Orleans traditional jazz repertoire.
And then I played clarinet and tenor sax in high school and college, but I'm not a professional musician. So in undergrad, I studied history. So when I came in, I'm a more traditional interpretive ranger, focusing on history and culture. I know enough about music to talk about it, and I'm certainly a music appreciator. And every once in a while, they make me get my clarinet out, and but I have to have music. Like I'm so far from a jazz musician. I'm very much in awe of our jazz musicians on staff and in the whole city.
And not to put any musicians under the bus, but let me just speak for myself. Sometimes getting all of the data and the facts that goes beyond, and I just want to focus on playing the music. So we have a great team here where I may not know all of the historical context, but I can at least give you that note. So Karen definitely helped me out with that a lot.
Yeah.
I don't mean to brag, but I was a mediocre to subpar trumpet player through high school and college. I was in the University of Richmond pep band, and
Right on.
I could hit that high C on the trumpet once.
Ooh, there you go.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I just feel included because my name is Song.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's so like by default, right? So
Awesome.
it's so unique to have the subject matter be music, right? How are you able to go from, something that can be experienced in so many different ways, like dancing and just, jazz music a lot of times makes you get up and dance,
Exactly.
right? And it's fun and it's super colorful and flavorful. And how do you go from that and bring your guests into this a different kind of story with the civil rights? Like, how do you bridge that? That seems a little wild to me.
Well, I think for us, it's all part of the bigger story, because jazz developed in a particular place in a particular time. So one of the things that I like to do is help people understand the cultural context that this music grew out of. Because for most of us now, we do associate New Orleans and jazz with feeling good, having fun, people being together. But it grew out of a place where there were many divisions between people. And this music was one of the ways that people express their humanity. And that's one of our universal themes, right? People can understand the need to express creativity, the desire for freedom, the need to have community. And all of those things are part of where jazz came from and are still part of what makes jazz music jazz today.
And to add to that, these are the same themes that are prevalent in the civil rights movement community, wanting to find freedom, wanting to be a part of something bigger and create change. And I am always coming from a music background. So when we look at, when I was studying Louis Armstrong and Mahalia Jackson, and realizing that they came from this environment where they wanted change, they wanted community, so much that they moved out of New Orleans to another place. We both made the connection that, these are some dots that we can point together. And that's how we get Mahalia Jackson and Louis Armstrong being a part of the civil rights movement, but also just being a part of things that we all can relate to.
You've really anticipated my next question here, which is I visited the American Jazz Museum in Kansas City, which is adjacent to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, and very much tells that story of civil rights and jazz music. I've not been to the New Orleans Jazz National Historical Park, but I'm curious to know, like, for me as an appreciator of music and as someone who wants to learn about the history, how different is my experience going to be? How tied to the place of New Orleans is the park? How different will the experience at the American Jazz Museum in Kansas City be from a visit to the New Orleans Jazz National Historical Park?
One of our challenges is that New Orleans Jazz has, over the years, kind of physically moved place to place. So we do not have a lot of physical exhibits that tell the story of New Orleans jazz. We have a few small exhibits, and now we're sharing the space with the Jean Lafitte Park, which tells kind of the broader story of the culture and the people of South Louisiana. So for us, a lot of what makes New Orleans, the experience of the New Orleans Jazz National Historical Park, meaningful to visitors is our ranger talks and the live performances that we do. And so we really encourage people to come to those. And we're lucky enough that often people are in town for several days, and we often get people who will come to a ranger talk in the morning, come to a performance in the afternoon, come to another ranger talk the next morning. They may see 3-4 different programs that we do. And so that live performance and that interaction is the best part of New Orleans Jazz National Historical Park. And we have plans to renovate our visitor center and build out more exhibits about the history of New Orleans jazz. But that's still, a few years down the road.
Our main resource or resources are the people that we invite or have to come and give the performances, because most of them have studied the music, studied the culture, have been a part of the culture either since birth, whether they're from New Orleans or not. New Orleans is kind of ingrained in them. So when visitors are coming, they're getting firsthand experience. They might see, for example, Herlin Riley here at a concert at 2, but then also see Herlin Riley at the Bayou Bar or someplace, and they're getting real hand accounts of what it's like to be a part of New Orleans culture. And so I think that's precious, it's unique, and no performance is ever the same. They're getting a unique, special moment. Whereas when you go to the Kansas City, the American Jazz Museum, I'm not sure if their exhibits have changed, but what you're going to get because the exhibits aren't changed. It's pretty much a permanent space, and which I love. I love the American Jazz Museum. I mean, I've had the great opportunity to visit myself, and I just was so in awe of, the development of it. But those are the two differences.
So I've noticed you guys also have a junior ranger program, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what does that entail?
Well, so every national park site has a junior ranger program where kids of all ages do an activity book. And when they do the activity book, they earn a little junior ranger badge. And so our junior ranger book is actually geared pretty young. So we're really helping kids to identify various musical instruments, learn a little bit about some of the early jazz musicians, Louis Armstrong, Jelly Roll Morton, Sidney Bechet, Sweet Emma Barrett, just a little bit an introductory to what is jazz. Because one of the things that I've found is that a lot of Americans especially don't really have, jazz is not a part of people's daily lives like it would have been in the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s. And so that Junior Ranger book is just a little introduction to this world of jazz music.
You know, one of the things that I think about with jazz in New Orleans, and bear with me here for a moment here, but I think of how when I visited Mexico City once, there was a frustration with folks there that Americans sometimes would visit Mexico City and think of Day of the Dead as Mexican Halloween, essentially, right? Like that it was they didn't appreciate the spiritual value of Day of the Dead commemorations. And when I think of New Orleans and jazz, and I think about, and Karen, you were just talking about how much a part of everyday life it is. And I think about like when we had our conference there, we did a jazz procession through the streets. And I think about like jazz funerals. And I wonder if, in the same way that folks would visit Mexico and not really observe the Day of the Dead in an appropriate way, is there a parallel there to folks just thinking of jazz as just music and going to the jazz historical park to just experience music and not really appreciate it on a deep cultural level?
I can definitely agree to that statement to a certain extent. Sometimes we forget, just in terms of history and even American history, that music isn't separate from what's taken place. Music is it's a part of, again, everyday life. It's a part of what we go through. Even just, I don't know, washing some dishes, you might put on a song. You might even put on a song just going to and from wherever you're going. So in terms of jazz funerals and just everyday life, and think about how these funerals were developed and in the context, well, it's no brainer that music has been a part of these ceremonies. And some might say that all music is kind of spiritual in a way, and it's sacred. It's some of these songs are there to get the person who's grieving through that process. Get the person who just lost, their loved one, their friend, through that process. That music is there to carry the people through. It's not just a concert. I'll just say that it's not just something that you observe. It isn't happenstance that music is there. It's there for a reason. You can see someone's soul. You can hear someone's soul if you listen closely. And again, I think that's another reason why New Orleans music is so rich. It feels so good because you're not just getting face value of a person. You're getting all of their being, all of their experiences in that note, in that wail, in that groan, in that bent tone, in that blue note.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I mean, a lot of times, New Orleans has a reputation as a party city. So people come and they say, oh, parades just happen spontaneously, which they don't. Every parade, you have to get a permit, hire a band, and that band's got to practice, et cetera, et cetera. But for the people that find our park, if they don't know anything about the history of jazz, that's what we can give them. We can give them context for where this music came from, where the traditions came from, so that when they go back out, if they see a second line, whether it's a conference second line or a wedding second line or a funeral second line, they'll know where that tradition came from. We might give them some tools to help them hear what's happening when they're listening to a jazz band that they might not have had before. Some understanding, some context of where this music came from. We also have visitors who come back year after year after year because they love New Orleans music, they love New Orleans culture, and some of them love the New Orleans Jazz National Historical Park.
Yeah.
And those folks return, I think, because we are offering rich programming that they can't get other places. Because in New Orleans, they've got a lot of choices of what they could do with their time during the day. So
Yeah.
it's really, and we have locals too that come to our park. We have locals that come 2 and 3 times every week to our programs. So that's
Yes.
also, I think, I take that as a compliment to the programming we're able to provide.
So just to follow up on that, Jade, how then as interpreters do you convey the cultural value, the spiritual nature of the music and not just the aesthetics, the sound of the music?
Well, a lot of it starts with one knowing where it comes from. And so some of the traditions and customs that take place, in New Orleans music, I'm not necessarily a part of. For example, when it for brass band music to the Black masking, Mardi Gras Indian music, just those two alone, I'm not a part of a brass band, nor am I part of a Mardi Gras or Black masking Indian tribe. But these are two things that are very connected, and these are genres that play a role in New Orleans music. And these are two things that have come out of the same cultural and social climate of traditional jazz music. And so since I have an understanding that, okay, I'm not a part of these two things, but I do like jazz, I come from the church, I can put myself and mentally and I can put myself mentally into what that looks like. I've seen it. I grew up looking at brass bands and Mardi Gras Indian. So with that being said, I can also relate to the visitor who's not a part of a masking Indian tribe or Black masking Indian tribe. I can relate to the visitor who's not a part of a brass band and just give them the shared feeling that, hey, we're both in the same boat, but this is, you can respect this, I can respect this because I understand that this is where it comes from. And maybe the visitor hasn't been in church, but they might have something that's meaningful to them. They might connect to something greater. Or I just try to point out things that these universal themes that we all can understand and provide context to the visitor. And then again, I always like to point back into my experience, what I know and what I feel, and hopefully with me sharing that, then the visitor can understand on a deeper level.
I think Jade makes a great point because I'm a transplant to New Orleans. I've been here for about 15 years now. And part of the reason I moved to New Orleans is because I fell in love with the culture and the people here. And it was very, very different from where I grew up. I grew up in Pennsylvania for the most part. I lived in Washington, D.C. for a long time. I came down here and I was like, what is going on? And so a lot of what I try to share in my programs, in my talks, is what I've learned about those questions that I had. Why do people dance at funerals in New Orleans? How did that happen? Where did this music come from? What was the world like when Louis Armstrong was growing up? His life was not at all like my life in Pennsylvania, right? So like I said, we have these two different kinds of programs. The Morning Ranger talk is really more of a talk. So it's trying to convey more historical information. Jade can sing and play piano when she does hers. I can play recorded music, but it's working with people to convey information and answer their questions, right? In the afternoon, when we have these musical performances, the musicians obviously play the music, but they often describe how they learned the music. They share stories about how they got into music growing up. Many musicians in New Orleans come from musical families. So there's always stories about their aunties and their uncles and their grandparents who were making music at home and playing on the road, and how that got transferred down through the generations. So that's, I think, part of what we do is offer the opportunity for people to hear these personal stories from the musicians that are living this culture.
And in terms of jazz funerals, yeah, there's this song that I grew up listening to by Luther Vandross. I think it's Dance with My Father Again. I think that's by Luther Vandross. But with jazz funerals, if say you didn't grow up, in New Orleans and you just never knew to dance with or dance at the funeral, maybe think about, if I had just one more moment to dance with my father again, or one more moment to celebrate my loved one, that can kind of bring the visitor in to think about the other possibilities to celebrate their loved one, something that's out of the norm, or out of the experience that they've had. And I think just reframing and reshaping that frame, or reshaping their mind to just imagine something different can get them to understand that this isn't just out of the blue, or it isn't just something that's unplanned, or we're just having fun. No, it's meaningful. It's spiritual. It's a beautiful celebration. It's sacred.
Well, I think you really just summed up what interpretation is all about, right? It's really connecting with your audience. It is giving them something that is relatable, having them walk away with a different feeling than when they walked in.
Yeah.
And I thank you, ladies, so much for being on our podcast today. I am excited. I know what I'm going to do Friday afternoon.
Yay.
Can't
Can't wait to see you down here.
Yes.
Yeah, no, seriously. Well, thank you. You cleared up a lot for me about your site and just what great work you all are doing over there.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Karen and Jade, where can folks find the park online, and how can folks find you?
Our website is www.nps.gov/jazz, JAZZ. And on Facebook, our Facebook?
NOLA Jazz NHP. I think NOLA JAZZ NHP as a National Historical Park.
And I think it's the same on Instagram.
Yep.
And physically, we are in the French Quarter, 419 Decatur Street in New Orleans, and we are open Tuesday through Saturday, 9:30 to 4:30.
Well, ladies, I look forward to dancing with you very soon.
Yay!
And interpreters?
That's
What's up.